Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to featuringcode.com. In today's lesson, we're gonna take a look on how routing is done in a server-side rendered application. So let's get to it. Let's talk about some examples and what's actually happening. If you see here, I have a route which is called second component. This route is defined in the app routing module. Here, second component. This is the client router that Angular has provided for us. For the second component, I'm loading the second component which on init it gets data from my second route. Whenever you enter such an address for the first time in a browser, or whenever you refresh an already entered address, for example like this, a few things happen. This request goes from the client, from the browser, directly to your server. You see this route here? What happens is the following. In your server, the application will look to see if you have any routes that are called second component. So you're looking here, do I have second component? No. Do I have second component? No. Do I have any middleware second component? No. So you will go through all of this and you will finally hit this app.get wildcard route, which will render an index.html file. This index.html file, you can find it here in the dist Angular Universal Starter browser. So if we go here in the dist, this is the compiled JavaScript, compiled Angular by the Webpack, by your Angular CLI. You will see that we have an index.html that loads an app-route. This is the app component, yes, for Angular, app-route, and some JavaScript, the runtime, the polyfills, the vendors, and the main. In the main, you will find all of the components and also the routes, the Angular router. As you see, we have the first component, second component. Okay, so the server hits the wildcard route because he didn't find the second component route anywhere here, and loads the index with the JavaScript. Then what happens is that the Angular router comes into play and is looking through the routes to see, hey, do I have a second component? No. Do I have a second component? Yes, I have a second component. What will I do? I will render the second component. This second component will then on the server, yes, because you're still on the server, although, so the index.html with the JavaScript is loaded on the server, yes, and the JavaScript logic is executed on the server. So this second component, which is here, when it will be initted, it will make an HTTP GET to my second route. This my second route will go through the same process as before. It will first go to the server and will be looking in the router. Hey, is this my second route? No. Is this my second route? Yes. And this time it will get the data from my second route, which is this text right here, and it will be loaded directly from the server, like this, hello second route from the server. This is what's happening with the SEO, search engine optimization. You will have this data already loaded from the server, and importantly, in the client you won't see any HTTP calls made to my second route, because these are made on the server. Another thing, if for example you're putting some routes here that don't exist and hit enter, nothing will happen here. But if we go on the console, you will see that cannot match any routes, URL segment, whatever this is. This is happening in the Angular router because the same happens. It will look, hey, is this route here? No. Is this route here? No, wrong. And it will render directly the index HTML, and it will go to the app routing and it will look for that route. And since it's no route there, it will provide this error. And another thing, whatever route is matched first, it will serve the content. So for example, if I put directly in my browser the my second route, it will provide me the data that is sent directly from the server. But as you see here in my client, I've defined this my first route just as an example. This my first route is defined here in the server, and my first route says in the client that it will load the second component. Let's go to the first component just to see here, and I'm hitting my first route, and what will happen, we will get the data from the server because again these are the routes that take priority in the delivery. Of course, when you make other HTTP calls, so right now we are already on the client, I'm hitting the server, you will see that these HTTP calls are done this time on the client and not on the server. Okay, so we have loaded the application from the server. The application is loaded. We have the app route loaded here with some links. Whenever I start and navigate through the application, this will trigger client-side navigation, but also client-side HTTP calls. For example, this user call, which is made to our own server, will be made from the client. In the first component, so we are in the first component here, if we take a look, we'll see that on ng on init we're making this HTTP GET API users, and also this hit the server. We will make again from the client an HTTP call to our own server. What this means is that this data that is loaded from the client is not won't appear in your page source. So it will be here, hello from the server, but you won't find it anywhere in your page source because it's data that has been loaded just from the client. That's why server-side navigation is important, because it puts the data directly in your view source and search engines can find it. Let's see, I don't know if I have anything else to show you. So yeah, this is the second component, again an HTTP GET, my second route. So yeah, the application is loaded and all of the requests are done to the client this time and not on the server. Yeah, that's about it, guys. So I hope you found this video useful and understood a bit how the whole navigation is made. on a server rendered application. Thanks for watching and see you next time.